Well, we finished the clutch project a couple days ago. I've been driving it around and it seems to be working fine, but as I mentioned at the end of that video, I broke something back here in the radiator in that process. So I've taken the cowling off, and there's a series of bolts on the side and then 4 bolts on the bottom, 2 big ones and 2 small ones that anchor the bottom of the cowling. So got that off, and I have just the radiator here. I've drained the fluid, the radiator fluid out, and I'm about to take this off. It appears there's just 2 bolts that hold it onto this pedestal here, and they're on the bottom. So I'm going to go get some tools and take that off. And our objective here is to get this on the workbench and just see if there's any breaks in the metal, to see if any cracks or anything that I need to get taken care of. Otherwise, I'm just going to put a new hose on the top, and maybe on the other 2. There's 3 hoses all together. So we'll see what we need to do there. But I'm going to take this off and put it on the workbench. So let me get ready for that, and we'll get moving. All right, so the hose that I think is cracked, or the metal that I think is cracked, and you can see it's really bent in right here, is up here, and then there's this one here and this one. I'm just going to take this one off, but I got to loosen the bolts underneath first, so let me do that. These are actually 2 different size nuts, so I'm going to have to go get another socket. But let me get these loose, and then we'll loosen the clamps and pull that off. Alright, we're going to try to loosen both of these and get them to slide off. Alright, I'm going to have to work these a little bit because they've been on there a long time. I'll get this off and then we'll move to the workbench. So one of the things that occurred to me is this base of the radiator has 2 studs that stick down through the frame down here. And so what I was loosening were nuts, not bolts. So you got to lift this thing up about 1 inch in order to move it off of that frame, and so just loosening this doesn't quite do it. So I'm going to have to take it off here and pull that tube down off of this connection, and I've already got the top part loose. So in order to lift the whole thing up, I got to get all this off. So changing my strategy a little bit here. Let's see how this goes. probably get more coolant all over the driveway. That's how most of my coolant projects go. Although I've drained this completely in a bucket and put it in the shop out of the way so I don't spill it. So that's good. Man, these are really old clamps, the old wire style. And really on there. And even when you take these clamps off, there's still the grooves in the rubber that have been there for so long are difficult to This is where I get coolant all over my shoes, I think. Alright, we got the seal broken on that, so yeah, there we go. Yeah, okay. There we go. So the radiator's loose. I just loosened this connection and the top one. We'll take this into the workbench. Let me turn the camera off and we'll go set up in the shop. Alright, so there's the front end of the tractor without the radiator. And man, there's a lot of gunk behind here. So I think I'll get my putty knife in here and clean that up while I'm in here. Someday I'm going to have to do it anyway, so I might as well do it now. So we'll move in the shop here and take a look at the radiator itself and just see if it's cracked or if I just need new hoses. And I suspect it's cracked, so that's probably the worst case scenario, but I think that's probably where we are. Alright, right here is where this was leaking, right up under here. And this is a pretty crude solder job here. And I don't know if that's solder or if that's some kind of, it looks like solder because there's some little beads around there. But it looks like somebody, probably a radiator shop, popped on this new spout and then tried to solder around here. And since then this has been pushed in and this has been bulged out. And so this isn't straight anymore. And I expect that right here's a little weakness in the seam, and there's another one over here, and then there's some right around there, and maybe a little bit more right there. So what I think I'm going to do is use like JB Weld. I've used it on radiators before, and it seems to do a pretty good job. So I'm going to see if I can coat all the way around here and come all the way out maybe ½ an inch and just seal up this whole area there. I'll need to clean this a little bit more. I've already degreased it, but I'll need to clean it so that the JB Weld sticks. So that's what I'm going to try to do, and if that works, great. If it doesn't work, then I'll probably have to go to a radiator shop and maybe have them rebuild this tank, which I hate to do because the original stamp is on this tank right here. It's Perfex Radiator Company, Milwaukee, and then it has a serial number on it. So I'd like to keep that. The other thing is I have another tractor just like this one with a seized engine, so theoretically I could just pull that radiator out and use it on this tractor. So that's another option, and I'll probably do that before I go to a radiator shop, because I just think it just leaks a little bit. And I also got new hoses, so I think we're going to be in good shape. So I'm going to go ahead and mix up some stuff and see about cleaning that a little bit more, and then we'll seal it up, and then I'll show you what it looks like after we're done with that. Alright, well, so I've put some JB Weld on here to try to seal up all what I determined were cracks, and I'm not sure I got them all. I saved some more stuff if I need to mix up more. I'm just going to let this set. Takes 24 hours, so tomorrow afternoon it should be ready to put back together. I also got a new radiator hose, and I just found one that fit on the spout. There's a top one in the bottom. On the bottom spout has two of these hoses and a metal piece in between that has the drain for the radiator. So I'm going to cut this up into the appropriate sizes and use that. I'm going to use the old clamps that I have and clean this thing up and put it back together tomorrow. Hopefully it'll all be working perfectly and I can get beyond this. I think the next thing this tractor really needs is some work on the brakes. I think let me reset the camera. We'll go look at the brakes real quick, and then we'll get back to this tomorrow. Just a little aside on the brakes here. This tractor has handbrakes, one on each side, and the brake is actually, the brake shoes are actually down inside, and there's a metal hub inside each of these housings, just outside the axle but before the final drive. So this one doesn't even pull up, and it's on backwards, so somebody's fooled with this, and it's totally non-operational on this side. And so I'd like to figure that out. And then the one on the other side works, but it doesn't work very well. But it does stop the tractor if you really need to stop. And there you can see the brake stick right here. And right now I have it set, but you can see that you pull the brakes like this, and when they're up on the seat, these are right where they need to be so that you can pull on that. This one works. It doesn't work very well, and I don't know if there's some adjustment. I believe there's an adjustment screw in here. But in order to get to these brakes, you got to take the fenders and the seat off in order to get down to this, and sometimes even the wheels, because there's a couple of pins in here that hold the whole apparatus together on both sides, and you have to pound those out in order to get that brake shoe out of there. So I haven't figured out exactly how to do that, but that's another project that needs to happen on this tractor, is to get these brakes refurbished so that they work. The one other thing is, if you look closely here, this has a PTO on the back, so right down here that you can't really see it because this hump is in the way here, but there's a shaft that sticks out about, I don't know, 3 inches or so. So you can put a pulley on that, and I've got pulleys for it, and that can run mowers and other things underneath the tractor. The other thing that it has is a big pulley right here. It's probably a 5-6 inch pulley, and that's for running belt-driven farm equipment off the back of the tractor, which is kind of neat. And then it also has a hydraulic lift. It has under there just one piston about that long, and it operates this bar back here. So that entire PTO And hydraulic pump is probably something that needs to be gone through. It leaks quite a bit, and it's very grody back there. It's obviously been leaking for a long time, and I'd love to get into it and replace bearings and seals and so forth. When you spin that pulley, it makes a lot of grinding sound. I mean, it's pretty loud, so that's one of those things that would be great to refurbish. And then I have some plows for this tractor, and we'd need the hydraulic lift to work in order to run the plows, to lift the plow and to set it down again. So it's all based on that bar that's on the back of the seat there, which is right, you know, you can't really see it, but it's right along the back of the seat. It's between the seat and the back of the seat. And so anyway, that's kind of interesting. It has that function on it, those three functions really, all in the PTO system, I guess I'd call it. So one of these days we'll get after that too. That'll be an interesting project and kind of fun to get it all working again. Alright, so we're putting the radiator back on, and I don't know if you can see right here, but I did a JB weld job here all the way around this spout. And what we're going to do, it's been 24 hours. I've got new rubber for the 3 real short hoses in the system here, and I'm getting ready to put in the nuts on the bottom of the radiator. There's just 2 of them, so I've got one on already. So I'm going to put the other one on and snug those up, and we'll put the coolant back in, and then we'll test this to see, we'll start the engine and we'll test it to see if it leaks coolant. It was leaking out of the top spout there. So that's, let me run up these bolts and make sure I've got everything else in place. And I think we can start it without putting the cowling on it. We'll just test it. And if I need to take this into a radiator shop and do more work, we'll do that, but we'll see. Alright, we're refilling the coolant and checking for leaks as we go. Alright. So far I don't see any leaks, but we probably need to start the engine to see if we're really going to have any leaks or not. So let me get oriented and we'll start the engine and then check it out. Alright, so I'm going to start the engine and we'll check for leaks. So normally I've got the throttle set at midway, I've got the brake on, I'm out of gear, I got the crank in, and I've got the valve open, and I got the choke set. We're going to pull it twice with the choke on, and then once without the choke, and see what happens. right, so we'll let that sit for a little bit and see if we develop any leaks up here. I don't feel any so far, and down here I'll check those too. We're going to let it sit and soak for a while and see what happens. Looks like we fixed it, but you never know. And if this is fixed, we're going to put the hood back on and the cowling back on, take the bungee cord off the gas tank and put the metal strap on there, and this tractor will be good to go for now. 1940 Allis Chalmers B, and we just did a repair on the radiator. All right, well, here we are with the just to sort of summarize the latest projects on the 1940 Allis Chalmers B. Notice I've got the hood back on, the gas tank, the cowling, it's all put back together. It's not leaking radiator fluid out of the top spout of the radiator any longer. I fixed that with some JB weld, and we'll see how long that lasts. And that radiator is in pretty bad shape just because it's been punched in and it's kind of out of shape, and the spout's not quite straight anymore. But we're going to go with it. Does not appear to be leaking, so it seems like that project of removing the radiator, getting it on the workbench, and cleaning it up, and then applying some JB weld to the spout area seemed to work. The other thing we had talked about is brakes on this Allis Chalmers B. This is a 1940, a pretty old one. And notice there it has a handbrake. You can see the handbrake right there. And there's one on each side. They're pretty conveniently located for the driver. And in these older tractors, the idea was you're plowing a field, so in order to spin around and get your next row going the other direction, you would use the brake on one side and steer, and that would get you a tighter circle. This brake has an emergency brake retainer clip thing on it, and you can see that that's holding it straight up, and it's got some knurled parts to the stick that that device engages. So you pull the brake all the way back and then you flip the deal over. John Deere has the same kind of thing on the foot brakes. So the right brake has always worked kind of marginally, but it has worked on this tractor, and the one on the left did not work, and that stick was stuck down parallel to the frame and never did work. And my idea was to pull all the fenders off and the seat and get after perhaps replacing the brake shoes, which is a big ordeal because they're you have to do it all from the top, and it's kind of difficult. I've watched a few videos of guys doing it, but it seems like a pretty big deal to get the pins out. So in this case, I drove the tractor and just kept pulling on the stick, and it finally popped up and started working again, and I was able to secure the little cover over the stick and get it oriented the right direction, and now that brake works. And I think it was just rusted together to the side of the casting or something, but now it works. Seems to work about as well as the other one. So now I have two brakes on here, and I'm just going to leave it at that. So with that, we're probably done working on this tractor for this season, and we'll put it away and pull it out next year, next spring, and take it to a tractor show or two, and we'll continue working on it. I think the next project is probably the PTO and the pulley in the back and the hydraulic cylinder in the back. All right, that's it. Thanks a lot for watching.